Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today I'm going to be doing oh, this curl is like tickling me. That's problematic. I'm going to be doing books I'm thankful for, and I was sitting here, so this video has just jumped to the top of my list because I had initially planned to do this video and have it up during Thanksgiving or either on Thanksgiving, and I thought, you know, oh, look at that. And I didn't get it done in time, and then I was like feeling really down on myself. And I wasn't going to do it, and I was going to wait until next Thanksgiving. But I did that last Thanksgiving. So we're not going to do that. I can practice gratitude at any time, and I think that's important to remember. And also, like, truly, I feel like I have just been doing a lot of reflecting lately. And also, you know, my 2-year anniversary for BookTube was, let me double check. I don't want to say the wrong thing. Yeah, it wasn't even a month ago. It was on November 6th, and I turned 2 years on BookTube. And so I also just have been doing a lot of reflecting about how I BookTube, proper booktubing, and just all kind of things, being a black booktuber, and I'm getting thoughts together for that. I may or may not share that in a video. I've been doing some journaling around that. I'm thinking I'm going to kind of share that in a video, and just reflections and what I'm looking forward to, and just all kind of stuff. So anyway, it caused me to reflect back on falling back in love with reading again. I've shared in other videos that I have been a reader my whole life, and then one day, I can't even really tell you what happened. I'd like to have some story about what happened, but I don't fully know. I think it was a combination of a lot of different stuff, and I just stopped reading, and I hadn't read since I was about 16 or 17 years old, I want to say, and I started back reading a little bit over 2 years ago, I guess, for myself. So I had still been reading. I had been in college and then my master's program, all of that, but just reading distinctly for myself had not really been a thing in my life, and it came back to me at a time when I truly needed it. So let me stop rambling and just talk to you about the books that I'm thankful for, and let's just lead in with this book. This is the book that I truly feel led me back to reading, and this is actually a book that's written by someone that I know and that really kind of prompted me to want to read. So this is Immortal by Tyler S. Harris. Me and Tyler did our master's program together. Excuse me. Always burping when my videos start. I never burp this much in real life. Anyway, me and Tyler did our master's programs together, and we kind of bonded over our love for reading and writing and poetry and all things creative in that way and in that space. And we had talked about how we, you know, have always wanted to write, and he challenged me a lot on why don't I consider myself a writer? Why haven't I been writing? Why haven't I been reading? And so he told me that he was going to be coming out with a couple different like books and stuff. So he had did a couple online, and I kept saying I was going to read them, and I never did. So when he did this one and it was printed, I was like, you need to read this so that you can talk to your friend about his book. So I read this book. And, you know, it took me a long time to read it. I remember when I got back into it, I need to revisit it. But this book just like means so much to me because it brought me back to reading. It kind of centered me. I was in my master's program, and I had just gotten to a place where my self-care was a joke. My quality time, my work-life balance, all of that was a joke. And I started slowly making time to read this book, even if it was just a page or two. And I feel like this triggered something, and it caused a ripple effect. So it was more than just picking up a book. You know what I mean? And I've talked about this in other videos on my channel. This book brought me back to reading. And I remember when I started back reading, and just this feeling of like, this is what's been missing. Like, how could I have not known? You know, I am a reader. I'm getting emotional thinking about it because I just had not. And I think part of why I didn't know it was missing is because I was still reading. And were some of those things for myself in a roundabout way, you know, I was in school and stuff, but this is a different type of reading that I'm talking about. And I'm so grateful to have found it again, and I hope I never lose it. And so every time I see this book on my bookshelf, it reminds me of that. It reminds me of just the gratitude I have to have really brought this book back. This book was pretty good. You know, I would give it probably about 3.5 stars. It was a pretty good read, but more important than that, this book did so much for me. And I will never forget that. So, yes. The next book I want to mention, since we're just going on and on about gratitude, is Chicken Soup for the Soul, The Power of Gratitude, 101 Stories About How Being Thankful Can Change Your Life. I have been reading this book incredibly slowly and on purpose because I have just been wanting to savor every story, and I am just loving it. This is also just an ode to Chicken Soup for the Soul books in general. I have read so many of these. I used to go and get them out of my library, and I own just a couple, but there are some that I've read years ago that I want to own and go back and reread. But this one is fantastic. This book is a great book about gratitude. I love the different stories in here. And they kind of have them broken down into sections. I'll read you just a couple if I can go to the table of contents. Show you what I mean. Okay, so like there's a section called Count Your Blessings. There's another one called Eye Opener. And you know what? One of my favorite stories in here is called 2 Seconds on the Microwave. It's 14 and it's up under the second section, Eye Openers. There's another section called Grateful for Life, A Change in Perspective, Simple Pleasures, Practicing Gratitude. Like, I am just really appreciating this book for lots of different reasons. It's reminding me to practice gratitude as often as I can. It's also reminding me to be grateful for being able to sit down and read, for having the time, for having the strength, for having the energy, especially if you've ever, like, you know, gone through like tough times in your life, or times where you've been sick a lot, which I have experienced since starting this PhD program. Like, I don't take for granted my health and when I am feeling well, you know, because there was a time when I was not feeling well at all, ever. So just everything about this is everything I'm about, and I'm so grateful for this book. I'm so grateful for this series. They just have so many. Now they have Chicken Soup for the teenage soul, for the Christian soul, the dog lover soul. Like, I mean, just whatever you could think of, they probably have one. And I just hope this series never dies out. This reminds me of like early days reading, like on the floor when I was younger. And yeah, it just makes me remember me reading when I was young. And I still love to remember that time. So I'm grateful for that. And I'm grateful for the nostalgic feel that it gives me as well. The next book that I'm grateful for is Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone. I'm grateful for this entire series. But this is something special to me about this first book. I'm so grateful for the series. Me and Harry really, I'm talking like I know him on a first name basis, but me and Harry really came to each other in a roundabout way. I really have to say. I had tried to read Harry Potter when I was younger, scared the crap out of me. No. Tried to watch the movies, same deal. No. So in my master's program, I remember the moment I was like, I need to read this book. I was online, you know, you just like mindlessly surfing, and I came across a clip for one of the Harry Potter movies, the first one, and I started watching a ton of clips, and I just like became overwhelmed. And I wasn't feeling well. I had a fever. I was sick. I was actually at home sick. And I was like, I need to read this. Like, it just came over me like a wave. And I got dressed. I have no idea how I made it to the library. Granted, it was really close to my house, but still. And I went to the library and I got out the first 2 Harry Potter books. I was so happy when I saw they had them. And I went home and I gobbled the first book up. I am so thankful for this book because I found this book at a time when I was just going through a lot in my life. I found this book at a time when I was dealing with loneliness. This book, I think, reminded me to take time for myself. And this story just touched me so deeply. I love the Harry Potter books and for so many different reasons and so many different ways. I just got lost in this series in the best possible way, and I never wanted to come out. It was just fantastic. I'm closing my eyes right now and I'm just remembering like reading this, how I would like rush home and really get stuff done so that I could sit and spend some time reading the Harry Potter books. Like, I remember reading some of these not this past summer. No, the summer before, right? before I started this PhD program, and just getting lost in the book. And this book just gives me the warm, cozy feeling, and you need that sometimes. So love that. I also want to mention another book that I read really early on when I started back reading again, and this book is just making me smile. I'm due for a reread on this book really soon. I don't think I've reread this since I read it the first time. I don't think. And this is Cinder, the first book in the Lunar Chronicles by Marissa Meyers. This book did a lot for me. First of all, I love Cinder. She's a character I think about often. And this is one of my favorite series, like, of all time. But also, this book introduced me, like, reintroduced me to how much I really enjoy a good series. When I was younger, I used to read a lot of series. I'm thinking Gossip Girls. I'm thinking Babysitter's Club, Nancy Drew. Like, I can't even think of a ton of them now. Drama High. But this book reminded me how much I love a good series, because I hadn't been reading series. It reminded me of how great it is to get lost in a world and spend time in that world and get to know the characters and watch them grow, hopefully, and change, and just this book also, like, taught me and reminded me, I don't know if reminded me is the word, but it definitely let me know that I love retellings. I love retellings. It also definitely reminded me, though, that I love retelling, specifically of fairy tales and specifically of Cinderella. Any Cinderella retelling, I will read it. I will read it. If you know of any, let me know. It's just something about Cinderella. I don't know what it is. I'm gonna watch any Cinderella movie that ever comes out for the rest of my life. I need to own them all. I don't know. It's something. It's in here. It's in here. And I can literally see this entire series on my bookshelf, and it just makes me happy. I remember reading this and just balling up with this book and just, like, falling in love with the characters, hating some characters, you know. And this book was just, it was fun. It was such a ride. I didn't know what was going to happen. It was so action-packed. It was gripping. But there was also some sweetness and some tenderness and some love. And I loved it. I really did. So yes, grateful for that book. Grateful that 2 years later, I can, like, talk about that book and my cheeks hurt from smiling so much. Grateful for that. And the final book that I am grateful for is a book that, this book is personal to me in a different way. This book is part of why, if not completely why, I am in school today, for what I'm in school for. This book is really personal to, excuse me, my academic life, my career, and just all things school related. This is First Generation College Students Understanding and Improving the Experience from Recruitment to Commencement. This book is so special to me. First of all, I am a first generation college student. And I'm a first generation graduate student now. I am also someone who has worked closely with a lot of first generation students in lots of different ways. And I also do a lot of research and a lot of work around first generation students in improving their experience, their persistence. It's what I am most passionate about. And this book, I remember I was actually assigned this book. So let me back up. I was assigned this book when I was in my master's program. I had kind of gotten an opportunity to change my job, and I was working with first generation students, and I had gotten an opportunity, a better opportunity, to work on a grant for first generation students. And so I was doing a ton of reading about first generation students, and this book was recommended to me to read. And I remember being in my master's program in psychology and reading this book and never wanting to leave work. Like, I was in the midst of my thesis, which if you've completed a thesis, you understand. And all I wanted to do was read for my job. All I wanted to do was read more literature like this, more education-based stuff. And I remember having a light bulb moment. And I started crying because I thought, I'm going to finish this program and I'm not going to have the tools I need to do this, to help with this, to work on this. to learn more about this, to immerse myself in this. And that's when I knew, clearer than I've ever known in my life, I wanted to further my education. And I was so sure about that. And I think it changed the course of where I am in my education right now. And I fully believe that. I fully believe that because I knew. And at the moment when I read this book was also so affirming and uplifting somehow and hopeful, while at the same time being interrogating and antagonizing, I think, a lot of the issues and the problems that we have in the United States surrounding first-generation college students and post-secondary education. And it was so many things for me. It was confusing, it was wonderful, it was hurtful, it was it lit a fire under me that will not go out, and I just knew. And it also, as a first-generation student reading this book gave me language that I had never had before. And I could see so many of my experiences in here. I remembered so clearly. And this book is just so incredibly special to me. If I ever got to meet the authors of this book, I would love to have them sign this book. This book really changed my life. And I don't think that's a huge claim to make, because for sure this let me know, especially because I had been applying to school and I wasn't being accepted. And I realized now it's because I was not applying where I needed to go. I was applying to programs. I would have been in an entirely different field. And it's just not where I needed to be. It's not where my heart was. But I didn't know that. I kept going around the way. But this was the first time that I knew for sure. When people ask me, what are you doing? What do you want to study? I could go ahead and start talking, you know, versus being a little bit afraid or wondering or trying to figure out how to say my research in a way that it sounded like they were research so they could know for sure I needed to work with them. I wasn't concerned with that. I was concerned about following the research and following the results. Who's doing what I want to do? Who's doing it currently? Who's doing it often? And who can teach me? And that's what I was concerned with. So when I opened my mouth, I feel like purpose flowed out for the first time in a very long time. And I'm not gonna get emotional. This book means a lot to me. I'm gonna have some hot chocolate. Thank you for joining me. I feel like I got really intense in this video. I didn't mean to. I guess until I started talking, I didn't realize, maybe I didn't fully realize what these books have meant to me. Whoa, come here, come with the team. But these books mean a lot to me. I love them so much, and these are 5 books I'm grateful for and I'm thankful for. So I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.